So you want to be successful, you want to make money, you want to have high status, and you basically want financial freedom, but you're chasing all the wrong things. Now, when I say wrong things, I'm talking about the Lambos, the Rolexes, the designer clothes. You know, when you're scrolling Instagram at 1 a.m., thinking, man, if I just had that car, that watch, that lifestyle, then I will finally make it. And maybe you're working 80-hour weeks at a job you hate. Maybe you're building someone else's dream while your own life passes you by. The prospect of another decade in corporate hell kind of scares you. You are afraid of wasting your life, you're a little bit trapped and a little bit desperate, and you're not quite sure how to break free. And you know it's very hard to become truly successful when you're chasing external validation or when you're building someone else's empire. And so if you want to achieve your goal of becoming genuinely free and making something meaningful out of your life, then it helps to understand what real wealth actually looks like in 2025. Alright, so something's been bothering me about that whole narrative, and I've been experimenting with a different way of thinking about success entirely. What if the real flex isn't what you can afford to buy, but what you can afford to walk away from? I know that sounds a bit abstract, so let me share what I mean by telling you about this shift I've been going through over the past couple of years. I keep hearing from people who are in this weird position where they are making decent money but feeling completely hollow. Like they will be sitting in meetings thinking, is this really what the next 40 years of my life looks like? And there's this strange paradox where someone can be earning more than they ever have but feel poorer than ever. Poor in time, poor in energy, poor in the sense that their days belong to someone else. And I started noticing something interesting about the people I really admired. Not the Instagram entrepreneurs, but the people I actually looked up to in real life. They weren't necessarily driving the fanciest cars or wearing the most expensive watches, but they had something else that I found way more compelling. They had complete autonomy over how they spend their time. So I started this little experiment. Instead of optimizing for more money or status symbols, what would happen if I optimize for more freedom? What would that even look like? The first thing I realized is that freedom isn't just about having money, it's about having options. And options come from skills, systems, and the courage to say no to things that don't serve you. I started thinking about it like this. Every purchase you make is essentially a vote for the kind of life you want to live. When you buy expensive things to impress other people, you're voting for a life where other people's opinions matter more than your own values. But when you invest in skills, experiences, and systems that give you more autonomy, you're voting for a different kind of life entirely. There's this philosopher, I think it was the Rao, who said something like, a man is rich in proportion to the number of things he can afford to let alone. And I keep coming back to the idea because it feels so counter to everything we are told about success. The second realization I had was about this relationship between time and money that nobody really talks about, honestly. We say time is money, but that's not quite right, is it? Time is life. Money is just a tool. And if you're just trading your life for money in a way that makes you miserable, that's not wealth. That's just expensive misery. I started asking myself, what if instead of trying to make enough money to buy the things that successful people have, I focused on building the kind of work that successful people do? Work that energizes rather than drains. Work that grows more valuable over time. Work that serves people in a meaningful way. This led me down to this rabbit hole of studying one-person businesses and creators who have built these really elegant, simple operations that give them complete location independence and time freedom. And what I found was fascinating. Most of them weren't driving Lambos or posting from private jets. They were just living really intentional, autonomous lives. The third thing I started experimenting with was this idea of enough. Like, what is actually enough? Because the luxury lifestyle thing assumes there's no upper limit. You always need more, bigger, better. But what if that's the trap? What if constantly moving the goalposts of enough is exactly what keeps you running on this hamster wheel forever? I started paying attention to the moments when I felt genuinely satisfied and fulfilled, and almost none of them had anything to do with material possessions. They were moments of creative flow, meaningful conversations, helping someone solve a problem they care about, or just having complete freedom over how I spent a random Tuesday afternoon. There's something profound about being able to wake up and ask yourself, what would be the most meaningful thing I could do today? Instead of, what do I have to do today? That shift from external obligation to internal motivation. I think that might be what real wealth really feels like. The fourth experiment I've been running is around this question of legacy and meaning. Because at some point, you start thinking about what you actually want to be remembered for. And I realized I don't want to be remembered as someone who had expensive things. I want to be remembered as someone who did meaningful work, who helped other people build better lives, who maybe left things a little bit better than I found them. This whole journey has me thinking about success completely differently now. Instead of asking, how do I make enough money to buy the lifestyle I want? I'm asking, how do I build a life I don't need to escape from? And that's led me to this model I've been exploring, the one-person business. Not because it's trendy or because some guru said it's the future, but because it seems like the most honest way to align your skills with your values and your income with your impact. I'm still figuring this out, to be honest. This isn't me telling you I've got it all figured out and here's the blueprint. This is me sharing what I'm learning as I go. Because I think there might be other people out there who are questioning the same things I'm questioning. Maybe success isn't about having the nicest car in the parking lot. Maybe it's about never having to be in a parking lot you don't want to be in. Maybe wealth isn't about what you can afford to buy. Maybe it's about what you can afford to refuse. I don't know if I'm right about any of this, but I know the old model wasn't working for me. And this new approach feels more honest, more sustainable, and weirdly more hopeful. So what do you think? Are you questioning any of this stuff too? Let me know in the comments what your relationship with success and freedom looks like right now. So, speaking of experimenting with different models, I've been working on something called the One Person Business Academy. It's not really a course in the traditional sense, it's more like a community of people who are all trying to figure out this same thing. How do you build work that serves your life instead of consuming it? If you're someone who's been questioning the traditional path and wondering if there's a different way to think about business and success, you might find it interesting. We're all just figuring out all together, sharing what's working, what isn't, and supporting each other through the messy middle of building something meaningful. There's no pressure or artificial urgency here. If it resonates with what you are thinking about, there's a link in the description. If not, no worries at all. Either way, thanks for watching and thinking about this stuff with me.